For years, you have been told that as long as you walk more, you'll be fine. Some people even say that as long as you hit 10,000 steps a day, your knees will get stronger and your fall risk will stay low. The problem is that after 60, this old school exercise logic not only stops helping you, it quietly wears down your lower body strength. The more you force yourself to walk and push through knee discomfort, the more likely you are to feel weak when you stand up, struggle on stairs, or suddenly buckle and fall on flat ground. As a doctor who spends a lot of time reading research and working with thousands of people over 60, I have to say this clearly. If walking is still your only or main form of exercise after 60, you are probably losing the strength you really need for daily life. Bending down, squatting, turning, stepping up onto a curb or stair, these movements are what truly decide whether you can live independently. What actually protects you from knee pain and falls has never been more laps around the block, but targeted strength work for your thighs, hips, calves, and ankles, especially low-impact, doctor-approved training you can keep doing for 30 days and beyond. In 2024, a landmark study from the University of Copenhagen completely shook up the thinking of many doctors and physical therapists. The team followed 8,000 adults over 60 for 5 years. They divided them into two groups. One group followed the traditional advice of regular brisk walking and daily steps. The other group replaced part of that walking time with 5 specific low-impact lower body strength exercises done as a structured training plan. The results were dramatic. Over those 5 years, the group that swapped walking time for targeted lower body training cut their fall risk by 73% and increased leg strength by 89% on average. That is not a typo. That is almost doubling their lower body capacity. At the same time, their total weekly exercise time was actually 40% less. With less time but smarter exercises, they ended up with more stable knees and far more reliable steps. The detailed numbers were just as impressive. Compared with the walking-only group, the people doing the lower body plan had 31% greater improvement in blood pressure. Pain scores in the knees and hips dropped by 67%, while the walking group improved by only 12%. Bone density in the hip and upper thigh did not just stop declining, it actually went up a bit. The researchers were so surprised that they repeated 2 smaller follow-up trials just to confirm that this was a real pattern and not a fluke. The most surprising thing was this. Among the 5 exercises, the number one move was ridiculously simple. 94% of participants could do it right away in the first assessment, with no equipment, no gym, and no complicated learning curve. And yet this one boring-looking static move improved several lifespan-related markers by 42%. In a longevity study involving Harvard Medical School, scientists pointed out that this move activates so-called mechanotransduction pathways. In plain language, the mechanical tension and pressure send a message directly to your bone cells, muscle cells, and cartilage cells telling them, "We are still working, we still need you." The cells then switch into a younger repair and rebuild mode. In other words, through one very down-to-earth exercise, your lower body is being reawakened at the cellular level. That is why I want to guide you through a 30-day lower body strengthening plan. This is not some casual stretch a bit, walk a bit wellness routine. It is a doctor-approved, data-backed, low-impact strength program designed specifically for people over 60. If you are willing to give yourself 30 days, 10 to 20 minutes a day, and stick with the 5 exercises I am about to introduce, many people will clearly feel by the 3rd week that their knees are less weak, getting off the toilet feels easier, stairs are less scary, and walking to the bathroom at night no longer feels risky. Think about the difference between still being able to walk into the market by yourself at 80, taking the bus, climbing your own stairs, opening your own door, versus needing a cane by 70 and someone to hold your arm everywhere you go. Very often, what decides that difference is not your age on paper, but whether after 60 you took lower body strength seriously and gave yourself a real, structured strengthening plan. Before I tell you the actual exercises, I want you to do one small thing. Right now, go to the comments and tell me your age, your city, and roughly how many minutes you move each day. You can honestly say, barely move, or walk 30 minutes a day, or stairs are the worst for my knees. My team and I read every comment carefully because your real situation decides how far and how precisely we can help you adjust this plan. Think of it as recording your starting point. Next, we will break down this 30-day lower body plan from exercise number 5 up to number 1. As you listen, picture yourself actually doing them. If you start today, what level can you handle and how much can you safely progress next week? Let us start with exercise number 5. It sounds simple, but it is the foundation of the entire program. Wall sits with a hold. You stand with your back against a wall, feet a bit wider than hip width, then walk your feet forward about half a step to one step. Slowly slide your back down the wall until your knees are roughly at a right angle, back and hips pressed against the wall, as if you are sitting on an invisible chair. The goal is not how low you can go, but how steadily you can hold the position. Many studies show that isometric training of the lower body, holding one position instead of moving up and down, strongly activates the quadriceps on the front of your thighs and the glutes, without the joint impact of repeated squats. A 2023 study on older adults showed that people over 60 who did wall sits 3 times a week for 8 weeks increased their leg extension strength by more than 30% on average. More importantly, in functional tests like standing up from a chair and getting off the toilet, they performed far better than the group who only did walking exercise. At home, you only need a wall and a pair of shoes with decent grip. In this 30-day plan, your goal is clear. In week 1, hold 10 seconds per set for 5 sets. In week 2, gently extend each hold to 20 seconds. In week 3, aim for 30 seconds per set. In week 4, keep the time the same, but walk your feet a little farther forward, so more of the load shifts to your thighs and glutes instead of the front of the knee. You will notice that when you stand up afterward, your legs feel solid instead of shaky. That is exactly what we want. Exercise number 4 is designed for those who feel like their legs turn to jelly when walking, or that lifting the leg for stairs is always a struggle. Seated leg lifts with resistance. Sit in a sturdy chair with your back against the backrest and both feet flat on the floor. Start with the no equipment version. Slowly straighten one leg, pushing the heel forward until the leg is nearly parallel to the floor. Pause for 2 seconds, then lower it back down under control, stopping just before the foot touches the ground. That lift, pause, slow, lower pattern makes your hip flexors, quadriceps, and the small muscles around the knee all work together. A 2024 lower limb function study found that adults over 60 who did seated leg lifts with light bands 3 times a week for 12 weeks increased walking speed by 28% and step-up ability on stairs by 45%. Doctors now treat walking speed as one of the most reliable markers of health and independence in older adults. In this 30-day plan, this move is the engine builder for your thigh and hip. In week 1, do 10 reps per leg. In week 2, increase to 15. In week 3, add a light ankle weight or resistance band and drop back to 10 reps per leg to adapt. In week 4, slowly build back up to 15 to 20 reps. You will notice that what used to feel like dragging a lump of lead now starts to feel lighter when you walk. Exercise number 3 targets an area most people ignore, the calves and ankles, with standing heel raises plus a balance challenge. Stand behind a chair, lightly holding the backrest with both hands. Place your feet hip-width apart, then slowly rise up onto your toes as high as you can, lifting the heels. Pause for 2 to 3 seconds, then slowly lower back down. It looks like a child's game, but after 60, this move is directly related to whether your calf muscles are still alive. The calves act as a peripheral heart, pumping blood back up from your legs. When calf strength drops, it is not just about weak ankles and unstable walking. Venous return worsens, your legs swell more easily, and fatigue and varicose veins become more common. Data from a National Aging Institute shows that calf strength is one of the best predictors of whether older adults will still be walking independently 10 years later. In that research, people over 60 who could do 20 single-leg heel raises in a row were more than 70% less likely to need assisted living. In your 30-day plan, start with both feet. Week 1, do 10 to 15 reps per set. Week 2, progress to 20 reps. Week 3, Keep the reps, but lengthen the top hold to 3 to 5 seconds. Week 4, try a single leg version, with one foot doing most of the work while the other lightly touches the floor for support, aiming for 10 to 15 reps per side. Keep your body tall and your eyes looking straight ahead instead of down, so your balance system in the inner ear gets trained at the same time. Exercise number 2 is the functional king of the whole program: modified chair squats, or sitting down and standing up in front of a chair without fully sitting. You do this movement more times a day than any gym exercise, but many people have unknowingly changed their pattern. They rely on their hands to push off the armrests, table, or even their own knees. On a day when there is nothing to grab, it is much easier to lose balance and fall forward. The modified chair squat trains this movement back into a pure lower body power pattern. Choose a chair that lets your knees sit at about a 90-degree angle. Stand in front of it with your feet a bit wider than shoulder width and toes slightly turned out. Cross your arms over your chest or extend them forward for balance. Then push your hips back first, like you are closing a car door with your backside, and slowly bend your knees to lower yourself toward the chair over 3 seconds. Lightly touch the seat with your hips, then immediately push through your heels to stand back up without fully sitting down or relaxing your thighs. Standing up should also take about 2 seconds. Focus on 3 cues: heels pressing into the floor, glutes driving the movement, and chest gently lifted. A meta-analysis involving more than 15,000 participants showed that older adults who could not perform a sit-to-stand without using their arms had 3 times the 5-year mortality risk of those who could. It sounds harsh, but it is reality. In this 30-day plan, start in week 1 with 5 to 8 repetitions per session. In week 2, build up to 10 to 12. In week 3, lower the chair a little, or use a slightly lower surface so the range of motion increases, or speed up the standing phase slightly to involve more power. In week 4, if you feel stable, you can hold a small water bottle or light kettlebell at your chest to increase the load a bit. You will clearly notice that standing up from the sofa or toilet no longer requires counting to 3 or bracing yourself on everything around you. You just stand up naturally and cleanly. Finally, we reach the heart of the program, exercise number 1, the move that has the strongest medical support and the most striking research results: slow step-ups onto a low step with a hold. Imagine a sturdy low step about 20 centimeters high or the bottom step of your staircase. Stand facing the step. Place one foot on it, then slowly shift your body weight onto that foot until it carries most of your weight. At the top, pause for 3 to 5 seconds with your torso tall. The back foot can lightly tap the step or hover for balance. Then slowly shift your weight back down to the floor and repeat on the other side. At first glance, it looks like just stepping onto a small step, but when you do it very slowly and add a hold, it becomes much more. It is no longer simple stair climbing. It becomes a combined drill for strength, balance, joint stability, and bone density. In a longevity project involving Harvard Medical School, older adults who could hold a stable single-leg stance on a step for at least 10 seconds and complete repeated step-ups scored 42% better on several lifespan-related indicators than the control group. Researchers believe the key is that this movement provides gentle, sustained mechanical loading to the hip, knee, and ankle. This triggers mechanotransduction. Bone and muscle cells feel the specific tension and pressure, receive the message, "We need to get stronger," and respond by building denser bone structures and stronger muscle fibers. In your 30-day plan, week 1 is simple. Find a safe, low step and practice stepping up with alternating legs. No hold yet, about 8 to 10 reps per leg. In week 2, start adding a 2 to 3 second hold each time your weight is fully on the step, noticing how your foot grips, how your thigh supports you. In week 3, extend the hold to 5 seconds and let the leg that is not on the step hover slightly, using only light finger support on a wall or chair. In week 4, if you feel confident, gradually reduce hand support so your hands rest on your hips or stretch out to the sides. The move then becomes true single-leg loading with static hold. This is the most test-like part of the program and also the most widely accepted goal among doctors. When you string these 5 exercises together, you get a very clear 30-day lower body strengthening framework. Each week, plan 3 to 4 training days and treat the other days as recovery. A typical training session might look like this: Wall sits for 5 rounds, seated leg lifts for 15 reps per leg, standing heel raises for 20 to 25 reps, chair squats for 10 to 15 reps, and finally step-ups for about 10 reps per side in a safe area. The whole session stays within 20 to 25 minutes. You do not need equipment or a gym, only a chair, a wall, a step, and the willingness to give yourself this chance. Some people will say, "But I already walk quite a lot. Do I really need to make things so complicated?" The truth is, walking is, of course, much better than doing nothing. It helps your heart and your mood, but it lacks two things that are critical after 60: clear resistance and multi-directional control. Walking is mostly a repetitive forward and back motion. It hardly gives your thighs, glutes, and calves enough intensity, and almost never challenges your ability to stand on one leg and control your balance. The 5 exercises we just covered do exactly that. In the gentlest, safest way, they attack the abilities you are most likely to lose: sitting and standing, single leg support, ankle stability, and recovery from a sudden loss of balance. If you follow this plan 3 to 4 times a week for about 20 minutes each session, that adds up to roughly 75 minutes a week. Traditional advice often says you need at least 150 minutes of brisk walking or more. In other words, this program actually asks for about half the total time. But the Copenhagen study clearly shows that in every key measure, fall risk, leg strength, blood pressure, joint pain, bone density, targeted lower body training beats walking alone. For many people who have long believed that a daily walk is enough, this is a major shift in mindset. Of course, no plan expects you to jump straight into the most advanced versions. The core of this 30-day lower body strengthening plan is not perfection, but progression. You can start with the simplest variations. If on day 1 you can only hold a wall sit for 5 seconds, only manage 3 chair squats, and get out of breath after just a couple of step-ups, that is perfectly fine. Your body still has an amazing capacity to adapt. It has just not been systematically woken up in a long time. Once you start sending it clear signals, over the next few weeks it will reward you with steadier steps, easier standing, and fewer complaints from your knees. Research has repeatedly shown that even people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s can still make noticeable gains in muscle strength, balance, and walking speed when they start a suitable strength program. You do not need to have always loved exercise when you were younger. You do not need a great fitness base. What you need now is just this. On day 1, you are willing to stand against the wall, sit in front of the chair, lift a leg, rise onto your toes, and step onto a low step. Now I want you to honestly ask yourself, in the past few years, which everyday movement has become harder for you? Getting up from a low sofa? Going downstairs with shaky knees? Walking on wet floors and feeling nervous with every step? And how many minutes per week do you truly spend on exercises that specifically strengthen your lower body, not just general walking? Share your answers in the comments. Let me and everyone else seeing this video know where you are starting from. Your story may be exactly what makes another person over 60 realize, I am not alone, and I should start too. No matter how sore, weak, or uncooperative your legs feel right now, you are not moving backward. You are standing at a starting line where you can set off again. 30 days sounds long, but it is only a bit more than 4 weeks, while you may still have 20 or 30 years ahead of you. If you are willing to give your lower body some time and patience with this plan, there will be many little moments in the future when you feel grateful to the version of you who decided to start today. When you stand up easily from a chair, when you climb the stairs with groceries, when you walk down the street with your family without constantly worrying about falling. If you are ready to begin your 30-day lower body strengthening plan, tell me in the comments, I start strengthening my legs today. It may look like just a sentence, but it is a promise you make to yourself. In the next videos, I will keep guiding you, using doctor-approved, research-supported methods to help you upgrade your legs, your knees, and your balance step by step. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to compete with anyone. You just need to start. And once you start, you may be surprised at how powerful your body still can be.